Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, Bruce. Thanks for joining us here. Coming off of coaching Erin Routliffe and Gaby Dabrowski winning the women's doubles title at the U.S. Open. Crazy 2 weeks, huh? Can you just talk to me a little bit about, I don't know, what it looked like, what your expectations maybe were going into the week, and then where you're at now, 24 hours almost after the win?
Yeah. Crazy. I would say a crazy couple of weeks. You hear it all the time. You hear people talk about to win something big, you always need things to break your way. So I'll say that, yep, that's true. You need some things to break your way. The expectations were never anything more with these girls than, day by day. Process is what we preach. Process is what we talk about. Process is what we commit to. And if we commit to the process day by day, the outcomes take care of themselves. It's been a very tough year for Erin. She was losing faith a little bit, wondering what's going on. Coming into Wimbledon through the grass court season, both girls seem to be in need of partners in separate, ways. They'd never played together before. Gaby's a little older. They're both sort of Canadian. Gaby's dad's Polish, but she grew up in Ottawa. Erin was born in New Zealand, but she grew up in Ontario. So they're basically Canadians, but didn't know each other, had common friends who they each were very friendly with. And, we started a dialogue. Erin reached out to Gaby and asked if she'd like to try some doubles. And Gaby came back and said, let's have a conversation about it. And they had a really good talk about it and decided they'd give it a try for a period of time, see how it goes. Their first tournament together was Montreal this summer. They both played DC, but with different partners, and they played first round. So Montreal was their first time together, which was very interesting. Out of Montreal, they played Cincinnati. Out of Cincinnati, they played Cleveland, and then U.S. Open. And the beautiful part of the U.S. Open is there's a fellow named Dan Kiernan who's working with Gaby some, and he's just started with Gaby as well. But Dan's dynamite, very sharp guy, runs an academy in south of Spain in a place called Soto Grande. And we're both dialed in the same way. And when you're giving at a Grand Slam, we're not playing every day like a regular tournament. At a regular tournament, first rounds are Tuesdays or Wednesday, and then it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, end of tournament. So getting work done during the tournament is very difficult. But at a Grand Slam, we have practice Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. First match wasn't until Thursday, so we had 4 full days of two-a-days to be able to cover everything, insert game plans, work on patterns that we're emphasizing, play the first round on Thursday, and now Friday's off. 2-a-day practice again. Get everything done, watching film, seeing the film, making a game plan, going on the court, working on the game plan, the patterns you're going to have, the shots we're going to use, emphasizing certain aspects of the game plan, preparing mentally, preparing emotionally. That preparation time at a Grand Slam is invaluable. You don't have that typically. And Gaby, who I'd never spent any time with, is unbelievable. I mean, her commitment to the profession matches Erin's, which is really exciting. We have two people who really want to be the best they can be. So then we play the next match and get a day off and practice really hard. And then as we're getting ready to go play the next round, the girls default. Vondrousova plays a tough singles match with Peyton Stearns, and they withdraw. So now we go out and practice, and we have a 2-hour practice. And then Erin and I practice a little bit extra after we practice as a team. Then we have the whole next day of practice. So now we got 3 days in a row of practice. Now all of a sudden, we're having a lot of practice days so that we can really get stuff done. And right before the matches, the girls are committing a certain amount of time to not just warm up, but to a reinforcement of the game plan, which includes some specific shots, drills, patterns that we've layered together for not just this particular opponent, but for their growth overall as players. So now all of a sudden we play that match against Taylor and Layla, which is an absolute war. And you can see the pattern emerging is a pattern I've always talked to players about, which is first you'll play a few points and you'll see oh, there it is. That's what we're looking for. Then all of a sudden you string together a whole game, held serve, serving and volleying the whole game, and made the first volleys and strung it together nicely. Then all of a sudden you can put a set together or multiple games together, maybe a set, but lose matches. Then somehow you find a way to string a match together. And that was kind of the pattern. The first set, first round was a lot of opportunities, but not real good to cash in on the opportunities. I think on break points we were something like 2 of 10 or something, 2 of 13, something like this. So the girls were freaking out. We're like, why are you freaking out? You have nothing but opportunities to break. We're going to be okay. Let's just take care of the serve. And as a tennis player, that when you're in the middle of it, in the throes of the match, you don't realize you had all these opportunities to break. You're looking at the big picture, which is, I just lost a set. So now all of a sudden, that's where the coaching is an advantage that's available nowadays, because we're not leaving the player out there on their own to just tread water and figure it out. We can actually say, no, hey, here's the data. 2 for 13 on break points. They're not going to last forever. And they're 2 for 2. We're going to be okay here. Yeah. And then they calm down. So after the Layla match, everyone was destroyed. And that was a rough match. That was like Georgia Florida tennis match on frat day, where they got 4 kegs of beer in the stands, and there's 1,500 drunk yelling frat guys, and every time you throw a toss up to serve, someone's screaming miss. I mean, that environment in Armstrong, it was deafening. You couldn't hear. I couldn't talk to the other coach next to me. You couldn't hear each other. And then we were down 6-2, 2-0, and we made it very clear to the girls that your energy level is not acceptable. Do you want to be out here playing this match? What are we doing here? If not, let's just shake hands and go home. And they got it going. 5-game run, 5-2, 6-3, 4-1, game points to go 4-0, game points to go 5-0, 4-1, serving, game points to go 5-1. And then all of a sudden, when that doesn't go your way, you get that feeling a little bit. We were playing doubles. We were committed to playing doubles, and then we backed away from it. And I've always maintained that the reason that for the last 25 years, no double specialist, and we'll define that as having 2 partners and neither one's been ranked in the top 100 of singles. So 2 pure doubles players have not won a Grand Slam. And the reason is because at the moment of truth, it seems that people revert back to their singles habits, and singles girls play singles better than doubles girls play singles. 1 up, 1 back, the rallying, all this sort of thing. That was a concern, because that's what we did. We backed off. We stopped making first serves. We stopped making first volleys. We stopped returning and coming in. We kind of go to a more comfortable place. For all, the girls play a tremendous return game and we break. And now all of a sudden we're serving for the match. And we freeze up a little bit. 5-4, and then we're down 6-5. And then we hold serve, serving and volleying, getting back to our doubles play, which is always easier, I think, when you're behind, to find the focus and to find the fight than when you're ahead. And my coach, a fellow named Bill Tim, used to always use the analogy of who runs faster, the person who's being chased by someone with a knife, or the person with a knife chasing someone. So when you're behind, it's that person chasing you. You fight a little harder. You focus a little more. So the girls get to a 10-pointer, which is what they play in the 3rd set at the U.S. Open, get down 7-2 with Taylor Townsend serving. Now, Taylor Townsend all day has been doing the ear for the crowd. And, at one point she was making fun of Erin because she was talking to the umpire and was like, there's a lot of drama on the court. And the girls were like, girls, just focus. No nonsense. Just focus. Down 6-2, 7-2, Taylor serving with a wicked lefty kicker and a great little slider. Double faults 2 times in a row.
Yeah, I remember I saw that. And I just turned on the match, and yeah, she was pumping up the crowd. She's got the serve, and you're thinking like, this is going to be
packing
tough.
My bag. I'm packing my bag. I'm putting everything in my bag. I'm like, come on, girls, come on, keep fighting. But I'm like, I'm packing my bag. I don't know how we're going to pull a rabbit out of our hat now. Like, come on. And she double faults twice. And then Erin kind of looks to me and kind of says, like, you can see the look on her face, like, wait a minute, they're going to have to take this from us now. And her and Gaby get together. And the remarkable part of these 2 women were the way they came together in moments of crisis, win, lose, or draw, the whole time. They were together. They were a team. They, one would wander off and become a little emotional, and the other one would chase after her and would not let her be alone. Yeah. Shoulder to shoulder, face to face. We're a team. We're in this together. Team. And they did it. And they find their way back, come up with a shot here, come up with a shot there, and all of a sudden you're in the semifinals of the U.S. Open. So now they're playing Sue Wei, who's undefeated in slams this year. Her record's like 16-0. I mean, what are you going to do here? Except when we had our pre-match meeting, our strategy meeting, we never talk about the record or the winning or losing. We're like, here's the process. The process is, here's the game plan. Here's what we're going to do. We can't control them. And what's really funny is before one of the matches, I said, girls, we can't control things out of our area, out of our hands. So let's just control the controllables. And everyone started laughing. And I said, I don't understand. Why is that so funny? Control the controllables. And they said, you really don't know? I said, don't know what? And they said, Dan, that's the other fellow coaching Gaby, Dan Kiernan, he has a podcast called Control the Controllables. So you talk about me and this guy who never met being on the same wavelength and being able to work together. It's the same thought processes. So everyone had a good chuckle at that, but that's what we always talk about, control the controllables. And as we moved through the rounds, we always added something new to the game plan. After the Taylor match, we added to the game plan, okay, the crowd's probably not going to be with us. So when this happens, here's what we'll do. And I'm not going to lie, it was nice when Coco and Jess lost. I like Jess a lot, and her and Erin have played together, but to play Coco in that arena with that crowd behind her and Jess, the two American girls, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And then, you find your way through a semifinal match where we serve for the match at 5-4 in the second set. We serve for the match at 6-5 in the second set. We're up 6-4 in a tiebreaker. And it's like, oh my God, I can, you play tennis. You can see this thing. You can see the possibilities. And then the girls together as a team find a way. People start texting me, oh, it's so good to see old school doubles played. And I'd say, old school? That's not old school. That's just called doubles. Doubles is when, people say, what's your doubles philosophy? I said, well, doubles philosophy is simple. I learned it from Mr. Hopman and Mr. Tim and Mr. Emerson and Mr. Stolle. Doubles is you protect your partner at all times and you play for your partner at all times. And I think the kids today have been cheated because they do not have doubles in the juniors. So they're all just playing singles on a doubles court. And the girls are playing doubles. They're bump lobbing returns. They're trying to take pace off and get it down. They're chipping approach shots. They're dropping against people who serve and stay back, make them run forward, play in transition, cover the net, bait, cover, anticipate. This is not done today. This is not taught today, which is why people say you can't play the net. You can play the net. You just have to play the net properly. You don't play the net with the footwork, the racket work, and the habits that you play the baseline with. So, now you're in the finals. Up till then, losing was okay because there's not a lot, the girls are doing well. They're learning, they're growing, real pleased with the efforts. This is a long-term process. Then all of a sudden you get to the finals and now there's an opportunity. And at the beginning of the 2 weeks, I was talking with my daughter who plays lacrosse at Colorado, and she was looking for a theme for their team this year. And we were talking about it. And I said, look, every year someone wins. Why not us? How about that for a theme? Why not us? Someone's going to win. We're probably like they played Denver to a 1-goal loss last year, and Denver's in the finals of the NCAA tournament last year. And so they started saying, why not us? And it's only because you don't think it can be you, because you don't have the discipline and the commitment to the basic technical and tactical things that an athlete needs to do that come out under pressure. So with the girls, I said, look, we're going to look at the draw sheet 2 weeks from today, and someone's going to win this tournament. And you're going to look at it and say, either you've played them, not that impressive. We've beat them, because they beat Krejcikova and Siniakova the week before, who are the best in the world. We're ranked one as a team. You're going to play someone and think, gosh, there might have been an opportunity there. So I said, so why not us? Why not? And, at first everyone goes, it's a lot to tell someone you can win a Grand Slam and for them to buy in there and to believe it. But that's half of tennis. Half of tennis players beat themselves. Half. Almost every tennis player beats themselves.
More than that.
Yeah, almost every tennis player. I remember, and the direction from the tennis authorities is all wrong. I remember some years ago listening to Mannarino play Federer on grass in one of the Wimbledon warmups, I think, and he beat him. But before the match, the announcer was saying, for Mannarino to win today, he's got to hit a lot of winners. And I'm thinking, no. For Mannarino to win today, he has to make no errors. Because if he makes no errors and doesn't beat himself and gets to the net a lot, now someone's got to beat him.
He has a chance. Yeah, he has a chance.
He has a chance to be competitive. And then at the moment of truth, if you have the courage, hit the ball in the court, follow the patterns you've been playing, or you've conditioned your opponent perhaps to look for one shot and can come back with another shot. But hitting winners is the very death of the tennis players. Trying to avoid an opponent who at a higher level can cover the court. from left, right, front, and back, every single place you can go, all you're going to do is press and miss balls. So with the girls, the talk part of the process was hitting balls in the court, playing to targets, not away from girls, trusting your partner that they'll cover what they cover, you cover what you cover. And in all of the matches, on all of the big points, the girls executed what they were supposed to do. And if you can beat them, beat them. You know, they'd go through the matches and come to the coach's box. Oh my God, they're hitting lines every in the second round against Lin Zhu and Ruby Wu. Lin Zhu is painting lines where it's like, it's okay. If she hits lines, she will beat you. You will shake hands. You will say, great match. There's nothing you can do. But we're not going to start pressing and missing just because she's hitting lines. We will keep feeding the ball to her. And lo and behold, on some of the biggest points of the match in the third set, she now hits balls out because you're standing at the net. And I think this is where a lot of doubles players go wrong, is they don't stay the course long enough for the odds to catch up. The odds aren't like flipping a coin. You flip a coin, it's always 50-50. You flip a coin 100 times, it's heads every time. That doesn't mean there's any greater chance of the coin being heads or tails on the 101st flip. But in tennis, you put pressure on somebody, the pressure builds. Maybe you hit a volley winner here or there, they miss a ball. As the pressure builds, they don't want to hit the ball to you. They're intimidated by what you might do. So if you're in position, they might try to go around you. They go around you, the pressure's tight, they hit the net, they hit out. So the percentages of hitting all those lines do catch up in time, but you have to have the courage to stay the course. You know, our motto is always fearless, but not foolish. If you don't stay the course and you quit after they've hit some winners, you've now put yourself in a worse position because you can never have the pendulum swing back the other way and have them make the errors to catch up. So,
yeah, no, that's awesome. And when you were talking earlier about you guys had the time to practice and the day off and someone defaulted, when you're going through that stuff, and what are you working on that you think is maybe different or a difference maker compared to when you look at the rest of the tour and what they're doing? I know you've talked about a lot of the stuff and the way you're describing what doubles is and how it's not old school doubles. I mean, they even were saying that on the broadcast when I was watching the final, and that there's some of the stuff they're saying on there. I'm like, come on, like it was like Renee Stubbs or somebody. And I'm like, come on, like you know what doubles is. Why are you talking about it like this is so foreign in 2023? But yeah,
I think it is foreign in 2023
well,
to serve and volley. You know, to serve and volley on a second serve, people tell me all the time, you can't serve and volley on a second serve. They return too big. I'm like, wait a minute. If they return so big, then isn't it easier to come and make a volley than to get caught on your back foot on the baseline trying to
right at your chest or right at your waist?
Right there. I mean, what could be easier? You know, we work on serve and return. You know, I believe that 40% of your overall effectiveness is serve. So that's a big part. 40% of your overall effectiveness is return. So there's 80% of the whole shoot match, serve and return. So you're working on those things. And then we're layering together some, what I call advanced racket work and advanced footwork on top of the basic foundational habits that you're trying to develop. You know, I see people practice volleying. You know, a great example is if you've ever seen a match warm up, you see a player stand at the net and they hit it to him, they hit a few volleys, then a couple lobs. That's an interesting match warm up, but that certainly is not developmental if one is trying to learn to play the net. There's a big difference between how to volley and how to play the net. How to volley is taught at a very basic elementary level around the world. Stomp the bug. You ever heard that one? Stomp the bug, punch the ball. That's great for the 5-year-old kids, but as you go to a higher level and you become more mobile, that's not a footwork pattern that's going to work. As you have to reach out for a volley, those aren't racket work patterns that will work. You can't, if you create an opening on the court, if I create an opening on the court and I'm volleying a continental grip and I dive out here for a backhand volley at full stretch, I can only volley it up the line. Well, what if the opening's over there cross court? What if the opening's sharp angle cross court? Well, I need to switch to a Western grip and bump the outside of the ball to be able to get it over there. That's what I call an advanced racket work pattern or an advanced racket work skill, that if you're not taught, you're using the same habits you have and you keep missing that volley to the opening because, you know, after all, what's the most important aspect of a successful shot? The racket face, the point of contact. If the racket face isn't pointing where you want the ball to go, and you tell me how you're going to get it to go there. So, you know, we nuance these things in, and there's always a bit of, what's the word I want? Question and doubt at the beginning because no one's ever said these things. Well, what do you mean I should volley in a Western grip? Well, how else are you going to get the low volley to angle off unless you turn the racket face that way and bump the outside of the ball? Well, I should use my wrist. My coach said never use my wrist when I volley. Well, if you're at full extension and you can't make a stroke, how else are you going to move the racket other than use your wrist? So these are the things that we'll work on in practice, because after all, these girls are so far down the road in their development that the habits are so deeply entrenched. In order for us to really make a difference, we have to make sure we build on top of that. So we're taking what they have and building on top of it. And then the other piece of it is the mental aspect, which I think, as you know, almost every tennis player can benefit from immediately. And those are probably easier to affect in the moment than a physical habit. You know, a stroke is a stroke. I think I still make the same errors on my forehand as I did when I was 12 years old. Today, under pressure, you know, so that's that. But mentally, I can make the mental adjustments that have been discussed or been put into my game plan, whether they be target, self-talk, breathing, technique, whatever it might be. Those are easier to employ than a physical change. You know, to solve a problem technically is very difficult to do while in a match. But to solve a problem tactically, it's a lot easier. So we might change tactics to solve a problem.
And then I guess last question kind of goes into that about the tactics for you as a coach in terms of scouting out the matches. Is that something where you're going to watch the opponents that they may play next and
Yeah,
watch
we
the
watch the
entire
film.
match? Yeah.
I watch a lot of film. I mean, I think we were talking, someone asked me this morning, I watched the people we played in the finals play 7 matches, 2 matches twice, you know, 2 matches twice, and then 3 other matches that they played together. Because, you know, the concept is information overload equals pattern recognition. So you're trying to see the patterns, but if you watch, you're skewed toward the filter with which you do things. But you can't have a filter skewing what you're seeing. You need to actually see it. And, you know, people will say things like, oh, well, just go to the data. The data doesn't really do it, because I don't want to know that she misses backhand volley. I want to know, where was she standing when she missed backhand volley? What was the shot before she missed backhand volley? What was the score of the game when she missed backhand volley? Where are we in the set when she missed backhand volley? You know, were we returning? Were they serving? Was it the third shot of a sequence? Was it the first move? Was it a poach? You know, so there's so much more to understand, because then you start to notice the patterns of what's going on. And then you can arm your team with some information that they might not use the first time round, but you keep reminding them as the match is going on. Here, remember, that girl fades off the net. So when you come forward and approach and they're both at the net, she's your option, or she closes, she's your bump lob. You know, remember. And no one remembers all day long, but then all of a sudden, if you've said it long enough, maybe it becomes available to them at a critical moment.
Is everybody doing that? Or does everybody have a
I
team that's
can't
going through that?
I can't tell you that. I have no idea. The analogy I always make to the players who I work with, I'll always try to find an elite professional in another area to use an example. No one listens to anything I say if I say, I think you should do this or that. It's just, I guess it's the way the world works, which is why the consulting business is so big. Someone pays a consultant a ton of money, and they said, the consultant said that this is what we should do. So I'll try to preface it, you know, and say, you know, Mr. Hopman said we should do this. Oh, the other coach, who's a 43-year-old guy who knows who Mr. Hopman is, and the Australian players, immediately there's validity now. You know, so we do what we do, and I'll say, hey, Tom Brady, you know what Tom Brady does Monday morning after a Sunday game? At 5 a.m., he's in there watching film. This guy's not the best of all time, or one of the best of all time, because he's physically talented. He's one of the best of all time because he's more prepared. So let's be more prepared. And, you know, they'll start to watch film, and Gaby and Erin have become avid film watchers. And, you know, we argue about making rules with Erin about you should put your phone away, and she sometimes doesn't want to, and sometimes will focus and sometimes won't focus. But I think now they're seeing that, hey, I had some information going into a match and it was helpful. Now, if we spin that to the other side and say, well, what happens if the players scout your players? Won't they as well be more prepared? Well, and that leads into the methodology with which we use when we play a match, which I learned from Mr. Tim. Corrective methodology 1 and corrective methodology 2. Corrective methodology 2 works off of when our opponent hits a winner or a forcing shot. And it gives us a series of options that we can work through so we can solve problems. So I'd like to think that we can solve any problem that comes up, and we're not stuck with only one pattern here. We always talk about, if you don't have 3 options on any given shot, you can't solve a problem. So if we have 3 options on any given shot, we can solve a problem. And if we're using corrective methodology too to identify the path to that, you could scout us all you want. We should have a solution for what you bring at us, if we're going to be able to execute, and if mentally we have the courage to do what needs to be done. That's the big one, courage.
That's awesome. And what's next for the girls?
They withdrew this week from San Diego to try to decompress a little bit.
Understandable.
I think they went shopping today in New York.
Yeah, they got a nice check,
which they earned a shopping day. The girls do like to shop. And then, take a couple days, go home, drop your stuff off, repack your bag, get ready for Guadalajara next week. They were not in the conversation for anything, toward the end of the year, the champions race or anything. That's in the conversation now, but that's just a distraction. Yep. We still have to push that aside and stay process. Stay in the process, do the work. The equation has never been, and we've had to have this talk a few times, the equation is not, if you do the work, you're guaranteed of success. That's not the equation. The equation is, if you don't do the work, you have no shot at the success. And then then they'll always say, like, well, what's the success? I just want to be happy. That always leads to the next discussion of, we have to define those things. Success is getting what you want, but happiness is wanting what you get. So if we can be happy, that might lead to the other. So we just it's a circle that just goes round and round and round. And I received, you know me, Freddie, I'm not me and your dad, we're not texting guys. I think I had yesterday in total something like 367 texts. And I think, 150 are from my former players when I coached college tennis. And they're like, Coach, we saw first serve, second serve sequence. Coach, we saw her change the grip and bump the volley. Coach, we saw them doing in-close volley drill during the injury delay to try to stay moving, but they're doing it all wrong. And I'm like, yeah, well, we got to start somewhere, so, I'm getting texts from my guys, like, they're doing the same thing. And then the ladies on the ladies team at the club, the camera's on us and the microphone recording and saying, you told them the same things you tell us. And I'm like, yeah, it's just not that difficult. It's not, I should change that. I should change that phrase. It's not complicated, but it is difficult. It's difficult to have the courage to go out there and keep hitting balls in the court.
Yep.
That's difficult. It's a simple concept. Whoever hits the last ball in wins.
Yep.
I mean, if you watch Djokovic yesterday, can't make it any clearer than that. Keep hitting balls in the court and you'll win.
Yeah. Well, appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time, Bruce.
Anytime, Freddie. I hope all's well. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks.